Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'd be lying if I said this storyline didn't catch my attention right away. Over the years, I've watched plenty of General Hospital secrets explode at the worst possible moment, but this one feels especially painful because it involves trust, marriage, and a growing web of lies. The more I think about it, the more I believe Harrison Chase is heading straight toward a heartbreaking discovery when the truth finally comes out. I don't think he'll just be upset about what Brooklyn did. He'll be forced to question whether he ever truly knew what was happening behind his back. From where I'm sitting, everything started with one bad decision that led to another. Brooklyn had been drinking wine before she got behind the wheel and headed to Charlie's pub, hoping to catch Gio's performance. Now, we've all seen situations like this before. Sometimes people convince themselves they're fine, that nothing bad will happen, and that they'll make it to their destination without a problem. But as the old saying goes, that's where the trouble starts. Before long, Brooklyn found herself involved in a frightening situation on Highway 91 when she nearly collided with Jordan Ashford's vehicle. Even though she didn't realize an accident had occurred afterward, the fact that she had been drinking clearly rattled her. Fear took over. Instead of stopping to figure out exactly what had happened, she kept driving and hoped the entire situation would disappear behind her. What really stands out to me is that Brooklyn wasn't responsible for causing Jordan's accident. Most GH fans understand that. However, being innocent of the crash itself doesn't automatically erase responsibility for everything that followed. In my experience, and after watching soap operas for decades, the cover-up often becomes more damaging than the original mistake. That's exactly the road Brooklyn seems to be traveling down now. Then came Tracy Quartermain's involvement, and honestly, that didn't surprise me one bit. Tracy has never been the kind of woman who sits back and watches her family face a crisis alone. If she sees a way to protect one of her own, she'll usually take it, regardless of how risky the situation may become. Unfortunately, every secret that gets buried creates another problem waiting to surface later. What makes this story even more complicated is that I can understand Brooklyn's fear. She desperately wants to protect her chance of adopting Phoebe. That's a dream she's fought hard for, and she knows legal trouble could threaten everything she's been working toward. Any parent or hopeful parent can understand that kind of panic. But there comes a point when protecting yourself crosses a line, and that's where I believe Brooklyn is making a serious mistake. The moment she allowed suspicion to shift toward Willow Kane, the situation changed entirely. Suddenly, this wasn't just about hiding her connection to a terrible night. It became about placing someone else in danger of taking the blame. That's the part that really troubles me. When someone starts building their future on another person's downfall, things rarely end well. And through all of this, Chase remains in the dark. That's what keeps drawing me back to this story. Chase is a man who values honesty, loyalty, and doing the right thing. Every secret Brooklyn keeps is creating a larger gap between them. The longer those secrets stay hidden, the more devastating the truth is likely to be when it finally lands in Chase's lap. If there's one thing I've learned from watching General Hospital all these years, it's that secrets have a way of showing up when nobody is ready for them, and this one could change everything for Chase and Brooklyn. The more I think about this storyline, the more convinced I become that Brooklyn is approaching a point of no return. I've watched General Hospital for many years, and one thing I've learned is that characters rarely get into real trouble because of a single mistake. The real damage usually comes from the choices they make afterward. That's exactly what seems to be happening here. Brooklyn started out trying to protect herself, but somewhere along the way, her fear transformed into something much more dangerous. When I heard that she was working with Lucy Coe and getting Brick involved in manipulating Willow's GPS records, I immediately felt that she had crossed a line that would be incredibly difficult to come back from. This is no longer a situation where someone is simply staying quiet about a bad decision. This is a calculated effort to shape a narrative and point suspicion toward another person. That's a completely different situation altogether. What makes the whole thing so troubling is that Brooklyn knows exactly how much is at stake. She understands the consequences of being linked to the events surrounding Jordan's accident. She understands that questions could be raised about her actions that night. She understands that her dreams of building a stable future and potentially adopting Phoebe could be threatened. Those fears are real, and I don't think anyone can completely dismiss them. At the same time, I keep coming back to the same thought. Fear may explain someone's actions, but it doesn't excuse everything they do afterward. Instead of trusting that the truth would eventually clear her name, Brooklyn appears determined to create a different version of events. The more she tries to control the outcome, the more damage she causes along the way. I also find myself thinking about Willow in all of this. Regardless of anyone's opinion of her, nobody deserves to become the target of a carefully orchestrated setup. Imagine discovering that someone manipulated information in order to make you appear guilty. That's the kind of betrayal that leaves lasting scars. If Willow learns the full extent of what Brooklyn has done, I have a hard time believing there will be any path toward forgiveness between them. But if there's one person whose reaction interests me the most, it's Chase. I've always viewed Chase as someone who places honesty above almost everything else. He isn't perfect, but he genuinely tries to do the right thing. That's why I believe this revelation could hit him harder than Brooklyn expects. The issue won't simply be that she kept a secret. The issue will be that she repeatedly chose deception over honesty, even when she had opportunities to come clean. From Chase's perspective, every new detail could feel like another punch to the gut. First, he may learn that Brooklyn concealed her involvement in the events surrounding the accident. Then he may discover that Tracy helped cover things up. After that, he could uncover the efforts to frame Willow through manipulated GPS data. Each revelation would make the previous lie seem even worse. As folks often say here in America, the cover-up is worse than the crime. That saying feels especially relevant in this situation. Brooklyn may not have caused Jordan's accident, but the action she took afterward could ultimately create consequences that are far more devastating than the original incident itself. The summer spoilers suggesting that Brooklyn's plan will collapse don't surprise me at all. In fact, I'd be shocked if it didn't. Port Charles has never been a town where secrets stay buried forever. Someone always talks. Evidence always surfaces. Consciences begin to weigh heavily on people. Eventually, the truth finds a crack and forces its way into the open. When that moment arrives, I expect Brooklyn's world to unravel quickly. The question that keeps running through my mind is whether Chase will be able to separate Brooklyn's intentions from her actions. Loving someone and trusting someone are not always the same thing. Chase may still love his wife after the truth comes out, but will he trust her? That's a much harder question to answer. Once trust is broken repeatedly, rebuilding it becomes an uphill battle. Chase could find himself wondering what other secrets he never knew about. He could begin questioning past conversations, past explanations, and past promises. Even if Brooklyn is completely honest moving forward, the shadow of these betrayals may continue hanging over their marriage. That's why I believe divorce could become a very real possibility. Not because Chase wants to give up on his marriage, but because he may reach a point where he no longer recognizes the woman standing in front of him. The Brooklyn he thought he knew and the Brooklyn revealed by these secrets may seem like two very different people. As this storyline moves forward, I have a feeling Brooklyn is headed toward some of the most difficult days of her life. Legal concerns may be the least of her worries by the time everything is exposed. Public humiliation, damaged friendships, shattered trust, and the possibility of losing her husband could all come crashing down at once. In the end, I think the hardest lesson Brooklyn may learn is that every shortcut she took to avoid consequences only created bigger consequences waiting around the corner. The truth has a way of catching up with everyone in Port Charles. When it finally catches up with Brooklyn, she may discover that protecting herself cost far more than she ever imagined. And if Chase ultimately decides he can no longer live with the lies, that loss could become the one consequence she never saw coming.